So today I'm going to show you how to make this 5x7 thank you card. Go ahead and get started. I started out with using paper from Die Cuts with a View, and it's this latte cardstock stack. I started out with a card base of 10 inches by 7 inches, and this is a linen color. I'll go ahead and fold that in half. Set that aside for just a moment. And the next layer is this kind of a gray blue color, and it measures 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. And to start my card, I'm going to do some stamping first. And my stamps that I'm using today come from Tim Holtz Visual Artistry Pack. And in companionship with that, he has these really thin acrylic blocks that fit the correct sizes of the stamps that I'm taking from here. So you might want to get the companion pack with your stamps so you'll have the right size blocks to use with them. So the way that I did this was I lined it up on the grid, which I love. Having that grid makes it so easy. I'm going to turn my piece of cardstock sideways, grab some brown ink, and ink up this stamp. It's really easy to see on this red if you've got enough ink. Just takes a couple of runs up and down, and you want to stamp this fairly quickly so that your ink doesn't dry before you get your image stamped. That looks pretty good. Flip it over and line her up. I'm going to leave about a quarter, closer to an eighth probably of an inch at the bottom. Push down. Make sure you press. This is such a long stamp, you want to get the whole thing pressed down. And then we'll lift it up. Looks pretty good. Turn it sideways. And then the second stamp I want to do, I'm going to remove this one, is Tim Holtz also has this cute little stitching. I'm going to line that up as well along my grid, and I can actually flip it over, oops, to see how well I've lined it up. Alright, it's not sticking very well. And once we've lined that up, we'll stamp it as well. Get some ink going. I'm going to do the same thing, leave a little bit of space down below. Oops. And there we go. And then our next step is to attach the sewing machine. Now for the sewing machine I use the Country Life cartridge. You'll turn to page 67 in the manual. It's image number 40, and here's the cute little sewing machine. And I just followed the steps to cut it out. I cut out the main image in black, and then I did the drawers in brown, and then the little pieces that go on top of the brown I used the same gray blue as the first card layer. And then I also cut out the shadow in the linen color. And when you're done doing that, you end up with this cute little sewing machine. So that's how I got that. And now let's go ahead and get this attached to our card base. But before we do that, I want to attach some ribbon. I have a little bit of a chocolate brown piece that I'm going to do. And just leave a little bit of space. Probably about that much. And I'm going to just use some tape. Just stick that on. Make sure you try and get that fairly tight. And I'm actually going to leave this loose for a moment because I want to tie some extra ribbon up at the top. It looks like I went over just a hair with the tape. Okay. So we can go ahead and adhere this on. TG gun. Just a hair. Oops. I'll go ahead and line this up. Oh, that looks pretty good. Oh. I'm off, of course. Not sure what it is about this one. I had trouble earlier lining it up. Alright, I'll look from side to side. Just have tired eyes. There we go. Second time's the charm. And once we've got that piece on, we can go ahead and put on the little sewing machine that we made. And I added some little rhinestones to the drawers. And I put some rhinestones up here as well. The first time that I cut this image out, I got lucky and was able to cut the small little embellishment on the sewing machine. But when I went to do it the second time, I just really had trouble getting it to cut properly. So it was easier to just do the rhinestones. So that's why they're there. So I put some pop dots on the back of this. Go ahead and take the backings off. We'll stick her on. Right about there looks good. And then I want to add some ribbon up here to the top before I add my stamping image. So go ahead and tie a knot. Oops. Love this black ribbon. So cute with the little stitches on it. There's one. Let's do one more just below it. And the nice thing is, until we get it exactly where we want it, it will slide up and down and go where we want it to go. Trim our edges. And play with it for a minute until I'm happy with what I see. That looks good to me. I might adjust it again once I get my sentiment on there. And the way that I did my sentiment, oops, found a little straggler. I use this really cute Thank You So Much stamp, and this is made by Stampabilities. And I'm not going to stamp it since I already showed you how I did the stamping for the Tim Holtz stamps. I've gone ahead and pre-stamped it for you. And this black base piece measures 4 inches by 1 1/4, and this linen piece measures 3 3/4 by 1 1/8, which isn't going to matter too much because I'm actually going to trim it with some pinking shears just to give it a little bit of fun texture. And pinking shears, of course, make me think of sewing, so I thought that would be the perfect little fringe or embellishment to do on this. And so once I've done that, I'm actually going to do a little bit of inking really quickly. And you may not be able to see, but I did also ink around my sewing machine as well. Just a touch to tie everything in together. And while I've got my ink out, I'm going to very quickly go around my card. And my top part. And we'll go ahead and attach our sentiment onto our black layer. A little tricky since it's really hard to get that just perfect, but that looks pretty good to me. And let's see, I think I want that to go right about there, but before I do that, I'm going to grab a couple of mounting squares to slip underneath my ribbon because I needed to attach the black ribbon up on the top. I didn't want to put my brown ribbon onto my card yet. And I'm actually going to slip one down on this bottom corner. It looks like my card's coming up. There we go. I love these little mounting squares. In an emergency, they're just great. In case you have an adhesive emergency. You never know. There we go. And you might need one. I'm just going to slip one under my ribbon here. Maybe one more. I'm just going to pull it flat and give it a little press, and that should hold my ribbon into place. And we can go ahead and put on our thank you so much. I'm just going to grab some foam squares for that. I realize this card is a little bit big, this 5x7, but I love that it gives you a little bit of room if you really have a lot to say. And they just turned out so cute. So this is what it looks like, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave me one. Thanks for watching. Bye.